Hey, welcome to the Ashes to Rubies podcast, Addiction to Connection. Jon here with
Joe. How are ya?
How you doing, Joe?
I'm good. John, I have a question to ask.
Okay, hit me up.
Do you feel like you're always putting things off?
What do you call that?
The delayed response?
The delayed response. What is that called?
Procrastination.
Procrastination.
That's it.
That's what we're going to talk about today. Procrastination. Delaying, pausing, avoiding, all of those things. We were actually talking about this, unpacking it a little bit. You and me, and then I brought that home to my wife, and I was like, hey, what's the first thing that, like when I say the word procrastination, does that apply to, like, where do you see that in your life? And she's like, well, and she went on. And I was like, I got sucked into her trying to figure it out. And then she was just procrastinating. Like, hilarious.
Yeah. Not funny. But that's the whole point. I guess what we're trying to address is what's the driver? What's the underlying issue that's driving?
I thought it was laziness. Like, am I just lazy? I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
What's the point? I just put it off and off.
And part of it is, and I see this even in my own personal life, is that if I have a deadline, and when things get difficult and I can't seem to resolve said problem, I tend to procrastinate. So if I'm working, let's say on an article or something like that, and I don't have an idea, rather than just stay there because I get uncomfortable with the emotion, so then I try to so I'll go to YouTube.
So like a writer's block.
Right. That's perfect definition.
Like you don't have the finish. You don't have the solution. You don't have the finish. And then you go to YouTube. Fainting goats.
And so then I soothe that feeling, that emotion. But in the back of my mind, and I think this is what you and I were talking about, is I still feel the conviction of this looming deadline. The issue is like, why do I do that? Why would I not just stay there?
So you're avoiding the emotions. You're avoiding the challenge and the uncomfortableness of actually engaging. And what crops up is fear and self-doubt. And then you become overwhelmed. And you're just going to put it off until
you feel better.
Tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. So what do we put off? We put off writing. We put off homework. We put off
having that difficult conversation.
Those difficult conversations. Maybe it'll all work itself out. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. How about even like taking care of the physical or going to the gym, working out? Like we procrastinate so many things.
And it says a lot, though, and it's for me anyways, is that it's actually a temperature check of how healthy I am. So if in my relationship, for example, if there's an uncomfortable conversation, i.e. finances tends to be the thing for me, I'll just procrastinate on it because I am afraid of what the result of that conversation would be. So because of my unhealthy relationship to money.
So now we're in your marriage.
Now you're in my marriage. Darn it. How did I get here, Jon? It's your fault.
No, this is a good point because you're bringing something up because these things are messy. There's no real solution. There may be an antidote. There may be different values and opinions and principles. And so when you engage in that, when I engage in that, and some of our best arguments was talking about the credit card and or going through the bank account. And it's like it comes up. And so what do you do? When that comes up, I don't want to engage in that anymore. What's the point of talking about that? Let's just not deal with it. Let's just
put it
over there.
If I don't look at it and I just ignore it, that somehow it's going to go away. That's the
Does it ever go away?
Never. It gets worse.
So then it builds up more
anxiety, more stress, more emotion. At some point,
you just disengage, or you go to a substance. You go to your phone, you get distracted, you avoid. You might start drinking. You might throw down a gummy or two. who knows what you do. But for some of us, we go right into our addiction, whatever that looks like. It could be the codependency. It could be fixing other people's lives, because you have all of this in here. So I'm going to engage in all these people, and I'm going to get involved in their problems and come up with the solutions, because I don't have a solution in here. So what is the solution? I know this is one of those mathematical problems that, like, when I was like, what's the solution?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, well, Jesus, that's like the Sunday school answer, right? It's like, well, but I think the actual solution is procrastination. How do you know that you're in procrastination? When you get convicted, when you actually recognize that you're procrastinating. So I think the first sign for the solution is actually coming out of denial and going, I'm actually procrastinating. I'm actually avoiding. So it brings conviction. And so the conviction actually is, I'm recognizing, now I get to implement. And I believe that implementation is discipline.
I love that.
Is discipline. Like structuring a disciplined approach to finances. But why don't we have a disciplined approach to the conversation? Because that's what's bringing the fear, especially with money. And I feel insecure. I can't engage in these conversations, right? It's not about money. It's about going head to head and like, oh my goodness, like the fire started.
And reframing. So for us, for example, we have Mondays is our financial meeting.
With
Structure.
who?
My wife and I.
Okay.
Together. And what we've learned is that we have to reframe the conversation. The reason why we're doing it is because it actually gives us a peace of mind. It's uncomfortable at the beginning. It always is. But the more we do it, the more comfortable we become. So avoidance actually is the thing that makes the problem, it makes it bigger than it seems. So by procrastinating, you're actually making the problem bigger than it actually is. And so what you're talking about, the discipline of actually having a structured approach, helps you avoid procrastination.
The discipline brings the structure, brings the plan, brings the strategy. Just like me, you brought in professionals to talk about finances. Just like me, you've brought in somebody for your personal life, whether that's coaching or sponsor or pace setting. But it's all a symptom of the internal problem.
Correct.
And it's something that we don't want to address. But the first way to address it is admit that I'm procrastinating. And then implementation of that conviction is discipline. And so I think it starts with the recognition.
Yeah, awareness.
You got to recognize that I'm procrastinating. It feels uncomfortable. It feels awkward. And out of that conviction, can I bring actually the power of God, the power of love, the power of light, the power of truth into the strategy of discipline?
That's it.
So what's going to overcome procrastination?
Conviction.
Which leads to?
Awareness.
Which leads to? Discipline. Which leads to?
A hit of serotonin.
Oh my goodness. When you and your wife get along and talk about money in a healthy way. Oh my goodness.
And that's the point.
That's the point.
That's the point.
Peace, joy, satisfaction, purpose, meaning, definition. Oh my goodness.
And a happy wife.
Oh my goodness. It's so nice when my wife is happy. And it's like going through those difficult, awkward conversations actually brings more beneficial fruit to the relationship.
So strange, so counterintuitive.
So if you want to get your journey started, get out of procrastination. Maybe you're like procrastinating about getting healthy, dropping a specific addiction. I just want to invite you into the process that we have called LifeLab. If you want to know more about that, it's actually addressing the things that you're actually procrastinating about. So don't procrastinate anymore. Come and join, find out more. LifeLab, it's for you. Joe's for you. I'm for you. James is for you. His dry sense of humor can be for you as well.